So this is my family, and as you can imagine, their stories are more important to me than anyone else, certainly more important than my colleagues or any of my friends. In fact, a third of pregnant women who today are getting an ultrasound are going to post those pictures online. And that's really why we've created Blanket, which is the simplest way to preserve your childhood memories and privately share them exclusively with the people that you love. So in Blanket, one of the most interesting things is right when you sign in, we give you a suggestion for the kind of memory that you should capture and share in our service. And this is dependent on data that's unique to you. So your child's birth date, their gender, the location that you're at, as well as the date. So for instance, yesterday it snowed. Today we're going to say, oh, you should go outside and take a picture of the kids doing snow angels, right? These are memories you want to preserve. The people who you're connected to on Blanket, it's a very small group of people. It's typically grandparents, aunts and uncles, and then the kids that you love. So in my case, I have a bunch of nieces and nephews, and I can never get enough of what they're doing. So in the feed, it works just like you would expect. You can comment or like. One of the first things you'll notice is that kids are actually tagged. And that's because kids are really the center of the experience. Kids have their own profiles, their own timelines, and also their own social graphs. We have guardians who control the profiles of kids, and they're typically parents, grandparents, or nannies. You'll notice here that not only are Claire and Alice tagged, but so is Wrigley. And that's because from feedback from parents, we found that pets, like dogs and cats, are also family members. And so we enable people to add them as profiles in our system as well. In addition to being able to upload photos, share notes, metrics like height and weight, we also have events. And that's particularly important for kids who are a little bit older who engaged in sporting activities, so that grandma or grandpa can go ahead and, with one click, add that event to their calendar. So I'm going to go ahead and launch into the live demo. We're very, very early, but I was super excited about the opportunity to show you where we're at. And so it's not pixel perfect, but we're going to demo it. So I'm going to add a photo here of my daughter, Emma. And this is a picture that's really meaningful to us and to her. So just a couple days ago, we had her over to visit her birth family. And so she's here in a photo with her birth sister, Olivia, and my husband and I adopted her a year ago through foster care. So we know a lot about privacy. We learned a lot about privacy with children as a result of that experience. And we would never post a picture or information about her birth family in a public place like Facebook. But on Blanket, we definitely can do that. So kids, like I said, have their own profiles, and just like you would expect, by clicking on her name, it takes you to her own unique timeline, where you can see her cute face. We also have a feature called Charts. And at the beginning, I told you when you first log in, you get these smart suggestions for the kinds of memories that you should be capturing and storing. And we have a rate of completion for the memories that we're suggesting. And we're doing that for a very specific reason, because we want to encourage parents to complete more of those memory suggestions. And we have charts to let you know about the data that you're inputting. So, whose picture are you uploading more often, and things like that. So we realize that not every single member of your family is going to be an iPhone user, and they might not even have smartphones. And so we have these really beautiful email digests of all of the memories that you're uploading. You can also like and comment directly from the web. So that's really important to us, so that no matter what device you're on, ultimately you can still interact with your family's memories. We also have email notifications that go out ahead of holidays as well as birthdays, with gift suggestions. And again, those are curated gifts for the age and gender of your child. And we are excited when you buy something, because of course we get an affiliate cut off of those purchases. And sponsorships of the email digests, as well as purchases through the affiliate links, are the first step at monetization for Blanket. So the thing that we learned right away was that this is actually something that is bigger than the US. And in certain regions, family and privacy are a lot more central than they are in the US. So places like the Middle East and Asia, I lived in the Middle East for a couple of years, and I can attest to this on my own Facebook feed. Most of my friends who are Arabs who live in the Middle East don't actually post pictures of their kids or even their face as their profile picture due to privacy concerns. So when we do our public launch, we're going to be multilingual in several languages, including Arabic. What we're needing, we are just getting ready to go out for a seed round. Right now, it's the two of us, not my husband, my co-founder and I, Brennan. And so if you're really excited about preserving childhood memories and see this as a really big opportunity the way we do, we'd love for you to come talk to us and consider joining us on our team.
So this is a big market. You know, there's lots of companies that have been pitched lately. Esther and I were making fun of the pitches we get about social networks. And there's going to be lots of social networks for niches, families, and I saw one for cigar smokers, I mean, on and on.
What about for Google Glass users?
Well, that's called Google Plus, right?
No.
So I told you.
Good timing. Timing was perfect.
There's a few things. One, you know, Life 360 got me on the system because my friend used it at a ski resort with me and said, you got to get on this because then we can track each other and it's not about a family, even though the whole meaning of the service is all about tracking your family and keeping track of your family. In other words, it virally got to me somehow. Are you thinking about building a viral loop of some kind to get people to hear about your app and your service and get them into the service?
So clearly, during the onboarding process, we have you add your spouse or partner, as well as the family members that you trust and love and who immediately are going to sign up because they want to see your kids. Outside of that, we can actually share to Facebook if you want, because certainly people do have memories that they want to share publicly. So through our app, you can also share those to Facebook and people come back through. But my background is actually in marketing to moms. I owned a company for 4.5 years, a digital marketing agency, and worked for big brands like Weight Watchers and Kmart, who were clients that we helped to get in front of moms online. So that's sort of my specialty and the market I've been in for a few years. And so, yeah, I've thought a lot about that. One of the ways we want to do that is actually through preschools. So preschools, like I said, I mentioned nannies could be a guardian, so could a preschool. And our son is 4 years old, he's in a preschool. And right now the way we get photos and things like that is through email, and it's very cumbersome. They could actually utilize our system to manage those kinds of processes as well.
Did you see how that answer was different than Front Row's answer? That told me that the team that you're putting together has a clue about how to get this out to the market, right?
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to hear from Front Row was that there was a clue about how to get Front Row out to the market, other than the cool people in this room, right? Which is cool, but there's a bigger market out there, right?
Yeah. But to be blunt, I just don't understand what this has to do with education. Seriously.
Oh, well, the conference is education and kids.
Yes. Okay. Well, that explains it. Thank you.
There's no educational component.
Great. Thanks.
Esther, I think this is a brilliant product you're building. I think the future isn't Facebook, it's private networks. And a sign of success is when you get your first NSA order.
With something that
they already got her.
Somebody did something with the Steam kit.
No, they have access to the email.
Yeah, they have it through Gmail.
So it feels a little bit like digital scrapbooking. I mean, is that sort of the same audience that you're going after? Is the community of people who are totally into scrapbooking and stuff too?
So yeah, I mean, our target demographic initially are like the Pinterest moms. Right? The moms who are already very comfortable with taking lots of pictures of their kids. If you were to sort of ask parents in the room, typically the response I get is they have hundreds, thousands of photos that not even their spouse sees, because you don't typically hand your device to somebody else. They get dumped in your iPhoto stream or elsewhere, which is why we have some really cool integration plans with iPhoto later. But most of the time, those photos never end up anywhere. And so Blanket is a place where you can store those moments.
And your talk a little bit more about your monetization and really what your costs are going to be too.
Yeah. So initially, our first stream of revenue is going to be through sponsorship of the email newsletters, as well as affiliate links for the products that we're suggesting. So we're going to come up with cool curated products based on age and gender, and hope you buy them, right? So there's a company that's more established than us in this space called 23 Snaps. And they do things differently, but they're trying to solve the same problem. And they have a 70% email open rate, and they have a 90% interaction rate as compared to a 10% interaction rate with comments and likes in the platform. And it's simply because of the nature of the content and the people who are in the network. So it's highly emotive, and it's also really transactional in terms of the kinds of things people are going to buy anyways, right? And especially in terms of babies in the first year. So that's a market that we're going to go heavily after, the baby center crowd. You find out you're pregnant, you want to immediately start telling the story of your child's life, and you need a product like Blanket to do that.
Yeah.
But two questions. So you've already got 23 Snaps.
Yes.
So maybe you can explain why you're better.
Yeah.
And the second is the large market is all these moms. Maybe an interesting market in a world of Sheryl Sandberg and all these other things. What about the poor dads? Are they chopped liver?
They're not. So specifically about who we're reaching, there are some subsets within families that we're thinking a lot about, in particular divorced families. So 25% of kids live in homes where there's divorce. And being able to have a centralized stream of content about your child is really important. And currently, you have to be friends with each other on Facebook in order to see anything that you're posting about your child. So like that in and of itself solves a really interesting problem in that particular niche. And so yes, we're thinking about the different kinds of niches that we can target within that demographic of parents and moms, which is huge. What was the second question you asked?
Just compare and contrast.
Oh, to 23 Snaps. Yeah, so there are a couple of things couple of reasons why I think we're gonna kick their ass. The first is really in branding and the user experience. That's incredibly important, and having a simple, elegant experience is what's gonna set us apart, just initially, visually. Second of all, they treat the family.
When you go do your investor pitch, you still have to be polite, which is what you're doing, but somehow you need to do a real compare and contrast and show how ugly the competition is.
Yeah.
And if you can, you want a four-corner chart that's sort of Facebook versus niche and Snapchat, whatever.
Yeah,
but keep going.
That's
sorry.
great. Thanks for the advice. So the other piece is they treat the family like an atomic unit, as if two parents have two children and everybody's all hunky-dory, and that's actually not how families work. And so we treat the child as an individual unit, and those guardians are flexible and can change. That's incredibly important and a huge differentiator between us and them. Hopefully that answered your question. One of the other, yeah.
Yeah, so you could have two dads, for example.
Exactly.
Or, yeah, great.
Yeah. Or a nanny taking photos.
A nanny, mm-hmm.
This seems like an incredibly culturally specific product. What works in the United States may not work in other countries. So I was really surprised to hear about you saying you wanted to launch in Arabic. Right when you're launching in English.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, 'cause I imagine you're just going to pivot. You're going to have to pivot so many times to figure out exactly how to make this work in English, let alone thinking about a completely different culture.
Is that true? Yeah.
So we're treating it as a universal experience. We're not customizing it based on the culture. The experience itself is incredibly private, and we're going in knowing that that's how they naturally interact with each other, that the current social networks are not facilitating the needs of being able to share family moments, and so we want to fill that need for them, knowing that they have that need. So we're not customizing specific to their market other than language. I've launched another app before, and one of the things that was most surprising and useful in terms of launching an app is that every language that you're integrated into, the App Store gives you an opportunity to be featured in the regions where that language is available. And so that also gives us an opportunity by being multilingual to get in front of them. We'll have to experiment, of course, with how it all works out, but that's our approach right now.
Frankly, I think your Middle East strategy is excellent. They really care about privacy, family privacy, more than we do over here, and they won't join Facebook for cultural reasons, but they will join networks like this. Yeah. Right.
So I think it's an interesting concept, but what I wanted to know, so for example, on Google+, you have these communities, and you can just have 5 people in the community and share things. So what would motivate me to join Blanket as opposed to just have a Google+ community that is just private?
Yeah, so there are also Facebook groups. So there are ways that you could manage a situation like this, but it's not convenient, it's not easy, it's not set up for this kind of arrangement. And also, your kids don't have profiles on Google+. So it's all on your own timeline, which again, that's not the kind of experience that a parent would really want. I want to be able to scroll through my daughter Emma's stuff and then separately scroll through my son Jude's, instead of having to scroll through my content, which includes both of them. And so that's where we differentiate from a community like Google+.
One other thing is trust, because if I'm putting all my kids' photos in this, I want to make sure that they stick around. Do you give us the ability to take all of
Export
our photos?
it all out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's smart.
Let's hear it for Blanket. And
Yep.
Esther. The next up is Gradable, not named.